Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. It's Sunday night, a humid Sunday night, 82 degrees here just before the 9 o'clock hour. And if you think, hey, that's kind of a late start, I totally agree. And this is, you might have guessed it, some stuff that I need to take with me to work tomorrow. So, we're going to do things a little differently, and I want your feedback on something. So I'm just going to come in, if there's space, and boom, this is a box. You can probably tell, well, maybe not. But typically, I'm one of those old-fashioned people, right? You know, I don't put a shocked face in every single thumbnail, and I'm not going to lose the shop, or injury was avoided, cops were called, you know, Karen's rallied, none of that stuff. I just, I'm a straight shooter. It's a title, it's tool haul, it's sequentially numbered. Highlight some of the stuff in the title of the tool haul, thumbnail. May not show everything, but it shows some of the highlights or something, or stuff that was used in it. For example, if we brought in a complete set of Stavila 1/2-inch SAE deep sockets, we might have Stavila ratchets out or something, right? What I want to know from you is, what do you prefer in a thumbnail? Do you want something eerily accurate like that? Do you prefer the deceptive and misleading? Because that seems to constantly be rewarded, even though people say they hate it. Or do you want something kind of akin to this? You know, like I would have typically not a box this large, but there'd just be an open box with packing, and maybe you can see a wrapper that you think is Knipex, and one of you picks up that there's like a Hazet box, you know, in there or something. Let me know, because I don't know, that's like if it's a turn off, if it takes views away, if you're like, oh, hey, good stuff this week, or, well, I don't see anything. Because like I said, I don't showcase everything in the thumbnail. But I typically, you know, try to hit the highlights. Like if, say, Stavila or Hazet, we'll say, had HP ratchets that came out and flex head and locking flex head. That's in my thumbnail. Okay. Do you want me to have the thumbnail and blur out the ratchet and have Hazet mystery ratchet and cheesy question marks all over it? Because again, like I said, that's what gets rewarded. Okay. Everyone complains about it, yet that's what gets rewarded. Take me doing that, you know, pretty well established, you know, as someone that brings in German tools, and take a brand new channel, and I just lay them out on the mat, and that channel has a shocked face, question marks, and blurred images, and it's going to get more views, and it makes no sense to me. And, it pulls traffic away. It's a weird deal here. Again, everyone says they hate that stuff, but then I don't know who everyone is that hates it, because they seem to always click it. So, very interested in that, because again, this is a situation here where I could easily just lift the camera up and have like bubble wrap and, you know, brown folded paper with a litany of who knows what in there. And I'm kind of curious what you would prefer. Now, in this case, I don't know that this is going to work like I wanted it to, because again, this is just such a ginormous box. But essentially, you would be looking at like something like that, and you're like, whoa, you know, hey, what could be in there? I better click this video and watch it. You know, or you could just, you know, have what's in here laid out kind of as best I can. So again, feedback is appreciated there, because I could see it going either way. And I'll tell you right now, like, this is very deceptive, because there's much more in here than meets the eye, although I bet some of you have a good idea of what one or two of the items are. So I think we're just gonna have to go with this. I'm gonna lift the box up. For everyone about to complain, like, oh, just don't waste our time at the start of the video, I'm the guy that uses timestamps and links that I make nothing off of still as of recording this, so you're welcome. But yeah, we're just going to throw that down. The elephant in the box is released. And, you can't get a great look at it, but it's Hazet 190L1. This is something I'd always kind of wanted, and I was sort of like, yeah, I'm going to wait till Tool of the Day. And I've never seen it on Tool of the Day, and I've been looking for it on Tool of the Day for, I don't know, what, 4+ years now, maybe? So, I finally, there's a good reason I brought this in there. It's got some irony with it now, but at the time I had no idea. But as I mentioned, everything ordered here I need to get with me to work for the most part tomorrow. And one of these is very important. It's ironically probably the smallest item in here collectively. And that's just what we're going to tackle here. So what am I doing with a Hazet 190L-1 at this point in time? Dimensions, 215 by 396 by 294. That's all millimeters, of course. Price point $35.42. It was discounted a little bit. A lot of Hazet stuff is on sale, so that's definitely one factor in this. But, as this comes out, there's a pretty cool tool haul in it, I'll tell you that right now. But where this is like really good for, I think, cans. I remember German Tool Reviews years ago at this point in time did this thing. And it was cool, but it was like, yeah, that'd be really handy, you know, and you could throw some tools in it and stuff. But it was always like, I'm going to wait. And I've waited and waited, and I've never seen it on Tool of the Day. But here's what I had in mind for it. We are swamped at work. We're shorthanded. We're, you know, you kind of get caught up, but then you're really not caught up because while you were having to do all the repairs and everything, all the production work that should be done in that time has kind of not happened in the quantities that it should have been happening in, right? And so then you're going to have like shortages, and you're going to have to like rush through things. And so essentially there is a task that I used to do way back in the day, and it looked like I was going to have to do it again as of me ordering this. And then Friday we actually hired somebody. They start Monday, and I think they're going to do that, and that's why I had bought this. So, go figure. There was no chance for me to like cancel it or abort it and continue. The way things go for me, this will probably be Tool of the Day sometime between me recording this and you seeing the video for sure, but probably within like the next week of me recording this. But essentially what I was going to do, it was going to work really well because this has a big footprint. I was going to load it down with parts, essentially like what I would be using for the assembly of this one product. And it would be way better if it had like compartments that would subdivide it between two sides, which I'd pull everything out, but that'd spoil things. So like if I could turn this into each side, which is totally open by the way, basically right back here, if I slide that over, you can see this wall. It's just like that. It'll hold your cans, your liquids. Looks like it would hold my anise pretty well, which that'll be handy. But if I had like 2 dividers in here to make each side a 3-compartment deal, it would be sweet. And then the weight would hold something down that I need it to while I'm pulling the parts and using it. I had it all planned out, but I didn't know that we were going to wind up hiring someone. So now granted, the employee might turn out to suck, and I could still use it for what I intended to, or try to. Basically, at this point in time, this is going to go to work because it's going to be really handy for me to carry all the stuff that I bought for work in, and then I can use it there. But it might be coming back here. Just kind of depends. So, I covered the price on it, $35.42. We'll showcase it in detail as it kind of comes out of there, but something that you can probably recognize staring right at you, and if you don't now, you will very soon. You'll say, oh, I can't believe I didn't realize that. It's Hazet's part number 197-3. These 190s tend to be like shop equipment stuff, if you haven't realized over the years. Funnels, plastic totes, things of those nature. It's a 1796. That probably tells you what it is. If it didn't, it's this. This is the first time I've seen one of these that didn't come in the box. I loved the box. It was like super old school looking. Had the robotic Hazet guy. You'll have to go back if you're new to the channel, or if you're like, man, I kind of think I might remember what he's talking about, but I want to see it myself. Probably, again, it's in my thumbnails, which is convenient for you, but I've brought in so many of these, you might have to mine a little bit. And I don't just mean KC Tool Haul quantities, I mean these exact units. And what is this? This is a magnetic nut cup. I know there's a lot of these. They all look eerily similar. Some of them are better quality than others in terms of the plastic or the finger grooves or the magnet, or the rubber boot on the magnet just seems better. There's probably a Taiwan and a China derivative, if I had to guess what the difference is. But these are really good. I've got a couple of them hanging on the gantry crane, some on the side of the Husky, and I've got some weight in them. I'm talking like grade 8 bolts, you know, for like engine stands, the gantry crane, hoist, stuff like that. And they take it like a champ. The other thing, this is such a unique color. Yes, you may love it, you may hate it. It contrasts really well with virtually everything. Grade 5, grade 8, stainless, rusted, crusty, you know, calcium covered, whatever. You can make sure that you can see there's a high contrast, essentially is what I'm saying, between whatever you throw in there. Same thing if maybe you're throwing in some bits or sockets for a project. Super good contrast there. Looks great. I've had no issues with them. I have had these for a long time, and I have a lot of them, and that's because they're good. The other thing, you can find these sometimes for maybe a few bucks more, maybe a few bucks less, depends on the vendor and if there's a price discount or anything. But the caveat there again, country of origin should be considered singles or 2-packs. Colors, that's important to some people, especially like if everyone in the shop has like lime green, you might want to get not lime green type of a thing. But there are, it seems stupid, I've showcased it before, but there are slight differences in the quality, and this is a good one. So again, great price. You can sometimes find those for a pretty good discount as well. We're getting to the point where you can start to see more in here, and I think we're just going to kind of roll with the Hazet theme that we've got going. And I'm going to drag this out. Whoa, I think there's a lot of things in a bag here, so let's try to keep this somewhat secretive here. The hand of justice prevents you from spoiling things. Although if you want to, again, timestamps have links, so, you know, have at it. But I guess this will be like the main Hazet portion for us, along with a couple of other things. So, what we have going here, if I set these conveniently in the magnetic nut cup, is I really needed to order, I thought it would be in this bag, and it's not, one item in particular, okay? And lo and behold, I've ordered it, but I thought, you know, it may not work. So we'll cover that in a second. But from Hazet, this is kind of a repeat offender for me. It's not had it very long either. It is their part number, 2304SH-1. This is really, really new stuff as well. It is their smart holder. Retail price is $28.20. I think it was discounted like 30-something% if I recall. So sub $20 essentially we probably paid for it. But this one is 16-piece, and this one has something important to me right now. If I flip this over, here's a look at the packaging, of course. Think of this as sort of like akin to what you used to see from VHA. When they were stocked at KC Tool, of course, Wera, you know, the bit checks, things like that. This is sort of Hazet's. You've seen me bring in a few smart holders at this point. I happen to really like them. So, as I wipe sweat from my eye, it's rendering them useless. Let's take a gander at this one. There are many, many different iterations of this, alright? So you're going to have Phillips, you're going to have Posi, you're going to have Hex, you're going to have a lot of Torx, you're going to have security Torx. There was something very expensive, at least comparatively to this, that I nearly brought in. It wasn't in stock. Being in stock, very important for what I'm ordering at this point in time. And then the thing that was in stock, I'm not going to spoil it because I might wind up with it at some point, but it was super cool, but it had two items that were like the big dollar items in there, and I already own them and don't really need them. And so I would be paying a lot for something super cool, but I wouldn't need like the two most expensive items out of it, if that makes any sense. So enter this, it's $20 item. And, you basically, these are all going to be your standard quarter bits, right? We've got a 4 and a 6.5 slotted. That's going to be what those are. You've got a 1, 2, and a 3 Phillips. Again, if you're balking at that because you need Posi, again, that's a different part number. You've got 7 Torx bits, T10 through T40. That's kind of nice. Again, you always hear me whine about T50 missing. That's a lot to ask from a quarter bit, but it would be nice for seatbelts, stuff like that. Here at work, basically 15, 20, 25, sometimes 30. You know, it depends on who's shipping and what it is type of a deal. Nothing we typically do much of, although I save so many of them, I wind up reusing them like when I build shelves or crates or something, so you never know. But, this is important right here, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeter, and you think, well, what is that? More slotted bits? No, these are hex bits, metric hex bits, and you think, idiot, you don't need that at work. What are you talking about? You always tell us how everything's old school outside of like 19 millimeter and some machines and stuff. Well, this is one of those times where I need the 3, believe it or not, as weird as that is. And so that's why this was bought, literally. Number one, it's a super cool bit set, and I thought, you know, it'll actually kind of come in handy, and I like it. And, the other thing, it had the number 3. If there was another set, if this didn't have the number 3 hex, this set would not be here. So the way this works is very simple. You just kind of press up. You can see the Hazet website there. Again, these are really, really nice and well done in my opinion. 654, that means this is 3. I can already tell you I'm a little concerned about the overall length. Why? Because I need this to be stubby. I need it to be short. Different bit holders, bit ratchets, things of that nature will kind of recess the bit portion more or less than each other. But if this was like shaved off and I had this top 3mm portion, about right there, I think I'd be home free. If this was cut in half and this was lowered about half, I'd be home free. I don't know if this is going to work, but I need it there in case it does. What am I doing? I'll tell you here shortly in the video. We'll build some suspense, but these are just stupid cool. I love them. I like the indications here. Again, they're not going to give you the size. Just kind of a buzzkill because I do think they could have fit it, but I mean, it's pretty apparent here that this is small and that's big, and if you know that this is your T40, well, you can probably guess 30, 27, 25, 20, 15, 10, right? Not difficult. We just opened this. The other thing I want to highlight that is cool and is awesome and functional is right there, the green band. It has 40. So, again, it would be next level, sort of like, how would I improve upon this? Number one, I've got to see how durable the hinge is. That could be a source of frustration later. Initially, no issues. How do they pair together? We'll have to figure all that stuff out. But just initial assessment here, what would be awesome? If these indicators were kicked up just a tad and we had 6mm, 5mm, you know, the orientation, the size, 1, 2, 3 Phillips example. So, but again, for the price, I am all about it. And I think they are a fantastic little pickup. So keep in mind, like, this is also something, think of like your EDC stuff or throw in the glove box type of a deal. If you constantly have something go wrong on your vehicle or electronics, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, the ballast resistor voltage regulator thing, it wouldn't quite be this setup here, but if there's some electronic device or some sensor that's always giving you trouble, you drive with a spare and it's a T27, well, carry this and you got a T27. It's kind of one of those deals there. So, moving on, if we've got bits, we got to turn the bits somehow, correct? That's what I was thinking. And these have turned out to be really cool. I'm a big fan of them, and they are really reasonable in price. There's 2 different iterations of these suckers, and we're going to cover both of them right here. The first one is going to be Hazet's part number HZ810BMK. Alright, BMK. And it is going to be $15.49. It's actually slightly cheaper than its very, very similar counterpart. And if I dump this out, you can already see it now, kind of. It's this. It is just a tiny little bit holder. This one in particular is going to be magnetic. Okay, so very compact, especially the extension on it. Again, that could be pro, it could be a con. I'll just come over here to a VitBit, and you can see her plug-in right there. So, super compact. This is great for a lot of things. Will it work for me in this application? Absolutely not. If I took that 3mm I need and put it here, I'm not getting done what I need to get done, at least as it currently stands. So, nonetheless, I was thinking if I have the bits, I'm going to need to, you know, have something to turn them. This is one of the options. The next option that is just slightly more, and this is going to come down to personal preference or size, space constraint limitations. If you've got a little bit more space and you're willing to shell out a little bit more, you can get Hazet part number 810BHK. Alright, 810BHK, not MK, but HK. This is a locking bit holder. Alright, I think these are currently on sale as well. That little guy down there, the magnetic iteration, $15.49. This one, $15.84. Have you seen me bring these in before? Yes, but they're super awesome. They're super nice. And again, right here, I'm trying to remember, you do need to pull back. It's not like an auto lock. It chucks the bit up real well. Like, that is insanely positive. To release, you simply extract. So, what is the caveat? Maybe you like the magnet, but you don't trust it. You prefer the locking style. Well, it's essentially the same handle, but you do add just a little bit to your overall length. This is not a standalone piece. You're not going to like rip this out and have both of them. Although you can buy this locking collar to pair with this or any other Hazet bit holder or standard quarter drive bit holder. But both of these guys right here are going to pair beautifully with that. And again, picture this little dude right here in your pocket with your choice of bits. Yeah, good times. So, pretty reasonable stuff there. We've got 15, 30, essentially like $50 and some change in there to get that. I think it's a nice setup, again, for the quality. That's all made in Germany. And again, I've used these longer than that, and I've been really happy with them. But if I told you I need that bit, and I'm worried about the length of it, and you're like, well, idiot, if you're worried about the length of it, and you say these won't do it, that's really stupid. Why do that? Are you going to, like, throw that in, like, a pair of pliers, or does that have a pliers wrench, and you're going to turn that with some little pocket-sized pliers wrench? No. Couldn't get the leverage I need with that either. But what is the best way to turn bits if you can't use a tiny bit holder like that? Well, it would be to take things to the next level, and we're doing that with the price and the performance here. This is, without the discount, this is the most expensive thing from this tool haul. $111.68 is the current price. When we got this just last week when I ordered, these prices are all accurate as of Sunday night, but when I ordered this, it was on a pretty good little discount there. And but you know, right now, go buy the 111.68. This is a repeat offender for me as well, and it's right here. It is tiny, it is compact, but it is powerful. It is the Hazet 863 HPB. This is, of course, the hyperfine bit ratchet. It's 90 tooth, so you got like a 4-degree swing there. I like the way it holds. Obviously, if you recall from our previous video of stuff that I have to rush and get to work, I went with Hazet HPS line ratchets, right? Same style here, but quick release. This will match. That's a small thing, but it's going to match. And it's a very good bit ratchet. I like the way it feels in my hand. I don't have any complaints about it. There's just nothing negative to say, and it has been used. Obviously not this one, but the one that I brought in here. And if I can cut this tape, we'll take a look at her. Hazet HP line is just really good stuff that meshes with me and what I want quite nicely. So, if I can find the magic piece of cardboard to extract this sucker, here she is in all her glory. It's almost like an entombment process in reverse, right? This thing is awesome. Spendy, yes, but if you are someone who constantly finds yourself in tight quarters and you need something compact that doesn't suck, okay? There's some pretty good little, like, 72 tooth bit ratchets. Some of them kind of have a straight handle, some have a, offset handle. Some are really good. Some of them are reserved, sadly, to, like, kits where you may not care about the bits or not like the kit. Sometimes it's way cheaper, even if you don't like the kit, to buy the kit and then to get the bit ratchet separately. There's a whole host of things. This one is, you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know, I guess if it's dire straits, this could be your first jump into the Hazet HP lineup. I would still recommend you go old school. I'd go with a 916 HP non-quick release or the 8816, the 3/8 one. If you spend quarter a lot, go that route. Get one of those, quarter, 3/8, or half. Of course, with a quarter, keep in mind, you can just come in here and you can put a bit adapter. You can put that locking bit holder. You can do whatever. It's not going to be as compact, but that would kind of give you a gateway taste of it, right? So this one matches everything I'm going to have there. It's going to tie in nicely. That's all second nature, secondary concerns at this point in time. The retention mechanism on this one is kind of like a clip, a little bit different than, say, Stavilla, but it sucks the bit down pretty good, and this will work. I can put the 3mm in here and I can get this to work. How do I know? I test fit something I had at work that did not include a 3mm hex bit. What am I doing exactly? I am dealing with a set screw that is hemorrhaging, absolutely hemorrhaging hydraulic oil. And this is from a very, I don't know if I've discussed this before on the channel, but the old Cat, right? Mitsubishi-based forklift, right? Cat. It's been a great forklift, really happy with it, but it's got a major issue, and it's hemorrhaging hydraulic oil. I'm talking hemorrhaging, like very, very concerning. And it was doing that, and it was a seal on the left-hand mast, like driver side, opposite the control, whatever, this side of the forklift. Okay, the mast, it's an open one. I cannot get adjusted. I don't know how people like the triple mast, like you can't see anything. It's weird to me, but I grew up with this one, an open mast, so yeah, it doesn't lift to infinity and beyond, but it lifts where I need it to. and I can see the pallets and stuff I'm trying to pick up and not run into stuff. But anyway, all that aside, that Mast cylinder was leaking, and I climbed up there, and it was the seal. It was blown out. There's this piece of like blue, like silicone neoprene rubber looking crud, and it was like sitting offside, and that's where the oil was coming from. So it's very hard to not have a day go by that you need the forklift, right? You never know what's going to come in. People don't communicate with you. Customers show up with stuff and you can't get it off with your hoist, or freight line shows up with something that wasn't supposed to be there, or you had no idea what's shipping yet, or you've got an order that's urgent and critical and it has to go out. Like, I can't pick up 800 pounds, on a pallet and throw it in the back of a truck, sadly. And it's a huge liability for me to get like a couple other guys back there with me and see if 3 or 4 of us could do it. So you need a forklift. And when the forklift's down, you can't do those things. So it's really, really hard to not have the forklift. And the thing that happened is the tech came out, and to the tech's credit, they're super nice. All the techs I've dealt with, I get along with, no complaints there. And he did a really good job on the seal. The seal is no longer leaking oil, but he cracked a gland nut. And I cannot locate a gland nut. And, I've nearly gone to YouTube, like in the community section, and posted a picture of it, with like the model number. I know somewhere out there are people, there's a dude, there's a business that like is a salvage yard for forklifts, a boneyard, a graveyard, or whatever. Like I'm going to buy this from this idiot for 200 and I'm going to part it out and sell everything for 250 or more. If I could get the gland nut, or if I could get like the mast, or heck, the whole forklift, if it was like economical or nearby type of a thing, I just need the gland nut, because these nuts, these people, I've never met a forklift technician. They've all been really nice. I get along with them, but I've never met one that could actually like do their job well. Okay, that's across the board. Some of them know things very well, but they can't do it. Some of them can't do it and don't know it very well. Some of them have the best intentions in the world and are super nice, but their repair work sucks. Like, I have turned down the opportunity to buy 2 forklifts in the last like 3 to 4 years because of how bad their technicians are. And I've had people, the sales reps, the high people, come out, from the distributors, and it's like, oh yeah, we're not like that. I know exactly what you're talking about. We're not like that at all. Now let me prove it to you. And they cannot prove it to me, and they have to go away with their tails tucked between their legs. And it is a mess, because I think this person also lost a bleeder, and I cannot, for the life of me, I can't find anything online which side should be which, if it's outboard or inboard that should be the bleeder. But they've got the factory set screw here, and then they've got one over here that is not the factory. It's like the length of a bleeder, but it's just like a grub screw. And the one over here, whatever it might be, a 3mm fits it. And I thought I had the leak stopped the other day, and I think the fluid had just gotten too low. And I had a huge shipment. This is like an all-day deal going on, where you got to have the forklift, and it gets to a point, like when you get low, like minimum and lower, the forklift will start to stutter when you steer, and it'll lift fine up into about like the 3.5, 4 foot area, and then it starts to stutter. And if you have something really heavy, it starts to stutter at ground level. The good thing is, like, if it's really heavy and on the back of a truck, I can get in there. If I can just inch it up, I can back it off and lower it fine. But I need the 3mm, and this is going to get me in there, and I can attempt to fix it. The other one, he also, the thing that kills me on this last repair attempt, you need spanner wrenches for the gland nuts on the top. And I would assume when you have like an official like company come out that does this for a living, that they would have had the correct spanner wrenches. I don't expect the factory technician to come out with a hammer and a chisel and tear up the gland nut in addition to cracking it. And that's what happened. And if I would have just known, I'm not sure that a 10-inch pliers wrench wouldn't have gotten around that thing. I know a 12 would have. I would have bought the freaking socket, for the guy, and I would have kept it, and just, it's there. It's my gland nut for the forklift socket, and if I ever have to replace a seal, we've got it. You can get that stuff made. I could probably make the socket, if I had the time. And it's a mess. It's a complete and total mess. And if any of you are proficient with this stuff, or know of like forklift boneyards, or have old cats, this one, everyone always tried to tell me this thing was ancient. It turns out it's like a 1991 or 2. And to me, that is not old. People were saying it was like, 70s, maybe early 80s. If we're like, I don't know how they botched that, but based on what their technicians do, I can't say I'm shocked. Went ahead and timed the card out there, but that is why this is here. And so this was purchased to go with this, to do that. And since I was doing that, I brought this in. Hopefully it makes sense. This is what I get into. And, like I said, if any of you are forklift people, whether it's a hobby, whether your dad or your uncle or grandpa just parked him out in the field and you have no idea he passed away, you don't know what to do with him, you can't find anyone that'll come by and scrap them because they're too heavy to haul off or something. If you got an old cat, like 90s era, and it's not hemorrhaging hydraulic oil from the Mast, tell me. I might buy a gland nut from you. Like I said, I'll get the Mast. Freight lines are getting real bad about not wanting long items. I don't know what a Mast would be. I don't think it would be more than 6 feet, really, if it was compressed all the way. But a gland nut, it'll fit in a box, like smaller than this KC tool order box. It's not a big deal. It's probably like yay tall, right? But when he chiseled it back on, the guy didn't clock it correctly, right? Like, let's say that the Hazet logo there, okay, this thing is the gland nut, and it should have Hazet here and Hazet written here, okay? And then I'd have my set screw here and the bleeder or whatever's supposed to be here present as well. And you can come in through the gap and sort of get to them with something like this, all right? You're never going to be able to get anything big. Can't get 3/8 drive in there. Can't fit this in there, but you can get a bit ratchet, okay, or a hex key. I thought I was going to snap my Wera hex key off. I don't know how it didn't snap. It flexed like crazy. And that's what I was using. It gripped it pretty good. I kind of think he stripped it out too, but I thought that thing was legit gonna snap on me. It was pretty. I've never seen one flex that much and not break. I'll just put it that way. But anyway, when this should be clocked like this, so you can come in and get your hex key or your bit ratchet, he kind of has it like this, and this gives me really much better access here for the bit ratchet or hex key than I would have had if it was clocked appropriately. But on the flip side, where this would have been correctly positioned here, this is offset and it's a better situation for me. This one is offset and it is a terrible situation for me. I can't do jack with that. I'm like gonna have to extract that grub screw, essentially like with, I don't even know if I can fit the twin grip in there to get it. I'm gonna have to like come in from the top with needle nose, totally destroy the threads that are exposed, which shouldn't be there, of course, and hope then that the stupid screw is short enough for me to get it out. I have looked at this thing. Hydraulics, they're somewhat simplistic, somewhat mysterious. I know there's a lot of pressure involved. I've heard a lot of really scary stories, like you rip the line off and the pressure's so good, like it basically like passes through your skin or something. I don't know. It's not something I'm super comfortable with. And quite frankly, like to get the carriage off to get to the gland nut, that's looking like a total, like it's a process, And like I said, the guy did great replacing the steel. He just totally screwed the gland nut over. And it leaks way, if you're curious, like what's the big deal if you had a leak beforehand that wasn't that bad? This makes that leak look like nothing. Like it wouldn't even concern you. You'd be like, oh, that's fine. It's probably just sweating. It's hot. This is bad. This is really bad. Like 5 gallons of hydraulic oil, it gets expensive as you continuously fill it. So yeah, this is there. It matches. This will tie in with those bits. We're kind of set now, I think, on the bit front, especially if I dig around back here and grab this guy. You think, hey, back to the tool haul, huh? Well, this right here, as you should be able to see, is from Hazet. It is part number 18BH. I have never known how they can sell this thing this cheap. I don't think this one was even on sale for anything, but it was $14.61. It's cheaper than both of those compact guys, locking and magnetic. And the kicker here, this is not magnetic. This is a locking one, okay? So it's sort of like the best of both worlds. And it's just good. This, obviously, it'll work with these little bits here. but it's much better like with a longer bit, if you will. But the way these hold is just fantastic. This is similar to some of their drivers, Slovenian based, I believe, on the bit holders. I think the bits are actually German, but it's just a stupid good price. I've again had zero issues with them, and they're dirt cheap. If you lose this, if you break it, if you sprayed whatever degreaser or, you know, carb cleaner or what have you on there, brake clean, and it just chews the rubber off and makes it nasty, $14 and you have another one. So these are just chock full of win. Again, this is the longest tenured out of these items we've shown so far. I've had this the longest. I've got no issues. Again, it's knurled here, which is super nice. The ejection process, you just lift up. They're just really, really solid little options for bits. So, thumb is hurting really bad. I pulled a bunch of weeds last night and then cut my thumbnail too short. So it's a hybrid fail right there. But we're gonna get this out of the way, and I'm going to come in, and we could technically stop there. This is a fairly long video, actually, 30 something plus minutes at this point in time. 34ish, but we do need to showcase this. This is important, okay? This is from Gedore. It is their part number 617-6010. You can also find it IN 203. And if I hold this down right here, you can see it, and you can probably read more, and you can see that it's a bit socket. You're gonna see quarter, and you're gonna see hex 3mm. So this little guy, first off, I have to thank Colin, because I sent him an email really late at night, and the next day, before I got to even look at my computer, because I had so much going on, the email was back. And what I had requested is I needed the overall length on this, on the Hazet, and on the Stavilla. Now, the big caveat, there were two things that factored into this. Why not Stavilla? Wasn't in stock. Why not Hazet? Why you got the Hazet going here? Number one, I'm not concerned about that, but number two, the Hazet was titanium nitride coated, which is cool. It's very cool, okay? The Gedore and the Stavilla were exact same length. The Hazet was, I'm talking like thousandths over, like negligible almost, but a little bit longer nonetheless. The big difference, aside from this being in stock, is just with the Hazet, which I would prefer, because the titanium coating, of course, and the price was really similar, but there was one big thing. If I have to cut this down, I've never cut titanium nitride coating, and I can't imagine that it would be a pleasant process. Dealing with, if you've ever like snapped a hex key off, a good one, like Bondus or Old American stuff or something, and you're like, oh man, that's a shame, but hey, it's a hex key, I'll just, you know, shave it off square and it'll be home free, I can use it again. Good luck. Like, if you sit there with, you know, and you're like, oh, let me just grab the hacksaw here on the bench and I'll cut her down. Yeah, try it. Have fun. I'm just going to leave it at that. You know, now granted, there are some cheap hex keys that I'm sure you could do that, but a good metal, like you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna go through a lot of blades and a lot of time, and you will sweat profusely. But this right here, you've got the situation. I know what you're saying, like, hey, do the comparison, get that Hazet 3mm up here, let's figure out what's gonna work. And I kind of need to do that anyway, so we're gonna crack this up and grab this. This bit looks a bit longer than I was hoping for it to be, no pun intended. If you can see right there, they're almost equidistant between there. It's probably, again, 2-spec. I'm sure it's like a DIN ISO deal or something. The catch is simple. This good chunk of material here is going to, of course, be something that we can set up, and it'll go along the square drive of a ratchet. So essentially, looking at this Hazet bit, we're going to tuck in like so, okay? Whereas this has to go in a bit ratchet in this case, and it's not even going to swallow all of that. I think our shorter overall length will turn out to be the bit socket. You think, hey, get 3/8, that's more space. I think that's going to have to work. I did, after this, find some stubbies. I think it was Napros had some stubbies, and Mac, which of course Snap-on did too. The Mac set is tempting. It's SAE and metric though, which the SAE would honestly be more beneficial to me. But for this particular instance, we're just going to have to roll with it and see what we wind up with. So there's that. I tell you what, I do get feedback from people, and some of you absolutely love the longer stuff. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep her rolling here. We're going to go the whole gauntlet. I told you in the previous video, I was like, man, this was such a steal on Knipex, the 15% off. Well, if you keep up with KC Tool, and hopefully you do, they extended the Knipex sale, and they put it up till like that day at noon type of thing. When I got home from work and I needed that 3mm bit and the bit ratchet, I cashed in. I saw that that was there, and I thought, you know what? I regretted not having another set. I'm going to do it. So I won't spend a ton of time here because I just showcased it, but this is the KCT-Cobra Set. As you can maybe see right there. I think you can, especially if I zoom in and focus for you. So, KCT-Cobra Sets. Yeah. Just take my word for it. KCT-Cobra Set. 5, 10, 12. They're not 2-component, they're not the plastic dip, these are the textured ones. I like that much, much, much better than traditional plastic dipping. These were no longer at the 50% off threshold plus the additional 15%, but they were close, and it was still a deal where I thought, you know what, that 12-inch alone is worth it. So when you consider you're getting a 5-inch and a 10-inch for essentially free, I did it. I pulled the trigger. Whether I turn these loose at work or if I, just keep the 12 here and throw the 5 in the truck and then have the 10 for a tool, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it was a great deal and I totally cashed in on it. So another thing that I kind of regretted not picking up when I had the opportunity with that sale was this item. It's from Knipex. It is their part number 7871125. So think of that again, 7871125. It's right here. And I believe this is what I own already, and I've been pretty happy with it. I will say sometimes, and I've cut a lot with it, the lead catcher works like 90% of the time. Every once in a blue moon I cut it and I go to like grab the like jacket or the cable tie or whatever, and it's not there, and I'm like, what? And it's off to the side or down below. So it's not foolproof, and I don't know what the deal is there. It seems like it would be, but these are just really, really nice. Again, right there, 78, 71, 125. 125 is going to tell us again, basically 5 inches there. So compact, yes, they are spring-loaded. I do like that for something like this. There's all sorts of different iterations of these things. Without a lead catcher, hardened, non-hardened, additionally hardened, burnished, chrome. Like, it gets really complicated. Essentially, this came down to one of two things. Number one, I think this is what I own. It was really late at night again when I placed this order. I didn't want to run out here and check. But the other thing is these were in stock, and that was important. I didn't want this order held up because of needing the 3mm stuff from Gedore and Hazet. Plus, I figured, like, hey, if they're off a few degrees or these are additionally hardened and not extra additionally hardened like what I own, I can just compare and contrast. So they're fantastic. They're essentially going to cut flush, so you can do cable ties. If you're working with, say, like 16 gauge wire, which I'll snip a lot of at work, the jacket's going to be there with the catcher, which some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it, some people that have never had one are like, whoa, that's going to make my life easier. I'm the type of person, there's two types of people at work. Okay, you've got an old beat up wooden workbench where we do electrical stuff, and if we've got employee A doing this, snips, and just everywhere, you've got these little tiny shards of wire, strip, and everything goes everywhere. And then there's people like me, and I'll strip or cut, and you know what I do? I take the old tape containers, like your Super 88. In fact, I've got some here. Let me just show you. Okay, so I take this stuff, the old Super 88s or the red, green, whatever I've got, and I dump. And then at the end of the day, or when I'm done with this task, I've got this thing filled up with, whatever it is I've been cutting, and I take this, and I don't throw it away. I turn it upside down and I dump it into the trash can. And then you know what I do? I bring this right back to the electrical table, and it's there for the next time I need it. But the flip side of this, which I ultimately wind up cleaning with a shop vac when I get time, is you just have a litany. You know, what we're typically cutting is orange wire there and cable ties, and it's just like shrapnel everywhere. And then as the table has been hammered on or hit down through the years, it creates these crevices and waves, and that stuff rolls into those spots. It sucks cleaning that. Totally sucks. And if people would just do what I do, I wouldn't have to clean that part of it. So anyway, that is what these are going to be for. And like I said, if these are the exact thing I have, I'll be thrilled. I could easily walk over there and check. Maybe we will. But they've been good to me. I do like the spring loaded. Again, you're not going to cut a ton. You don't want to cut anything crazy with these. You think of these as like a precision flush cut. Okay, so you're not going to come in here and cut rod, or you're going to be like, hey, you know, that tiny little, you know, cotter pin, this surely can handle that. Keep this for plastics and wire, okay, like soft wire, stranded copper, stuff like that. So if you do that, the tool will last much longer, you'll be happier, and you won't tear it up and have to buy it again. Also, something about this 2-component handle and the other ones in this size I have from Knipex, I actually like them much better. There's like a more tactile, grippy feel. Again, personal preference, but that's what it is. So the last item, I believe, this is one of those deals. And I might save this one. I realize now in my rush to go to work, I don't think I showcased. I told you I still had a ton of the Knipex stuff over here, and I don't think I showcased that one. I think I'm gonna save this one because I know we're at like 45 minutes. We're gonna save it, so I'll get to that. But trust me, it's awesome. It's from Knipex. You're gonna like it. But now we can take a look at the Tote. Okay, it's really nice. It is plastic. It's not like this is like space age aluminum or titanium. The handle is aluminum, which that's cool. So you're not gonna have like the if this was a plastic handle, okay, what would fail would be this side or this side. Wherever there's more weight and you're not supporting it, try to grab from the middle, keep the load distributed evenly. It looks like if I wanted to, I could rip this and get the extruded handle out, but for whatever it's worth, right now it's intact. We'll see how it holds up. There is a couple of hidden features here. So now you're seeing this in all its glory. Okay, so I'm just gonna, it's a funky little shape the way this came out of the mold. But right here, you could basically call out like 15 1/4. Down here, it's going to be like just shy of 15. Again, I'm not going to convert that to metric. You do you. Length here is going to be just past 4.5. And then this is the thing. This is deeper. I think the camera's doing a good job of showcasing that. If we come up this back sidewall, it's probably about 5 1/4. The sidewall itself here, since this does slope up, it's a little past 4 inches. So you basically got 4 inches that you could fill this thing with, and it would not come out short of you jostling it or running like a schoolgirl or something. So fantastic news. Right here, your bit holder, if I stand this up, you can see it's perfectly safe there. Here, the bit and basically the knurling is going to extend above. Basically what I'm trying to tell you, you can load this down with stuff. Now, I don't know what it's rated for weight-wise. That would be something interesting to know. What I do kind of want to try, and I've got a bad feeling about it. I don't think it's gonna, you can kind of see it. There is a scaled ruler here. This one, it looks like it's gonna go 0 to 33 centimeters. So case in point, if you're like, hey, how long is that bit driver? And you try to button it up with the bit, it's like 15 centimeters, something like that. All right. So it's a selling point. If I flip this thing around, here's your kind of side profile. Again, this is really awkward. Anything like this is... Okay, I did not know this. I didn't know there's going to be Hazet screened on this side, so that's cool. This side is going to be much more useful to me. It's in inches. So let's say that I pulled a bolt or something. I'm like, hey, how long is that thing? I can kind of set it down right there, and I'll be like, hey, I need 1.5 inches. And go to town. So this right here, a 5'10" and a 12-inch Cobra, obviously tucking down beautifully once more, since we have that there as a point of reference. You can see basically 13.5. So if you had some socket rails from Ernst, 8, 13 customs, they're gonna fit fine. If you've got little spring steel rails or bit holders or anything like that, it can drop in beautifully. Screwdrivers, boom, go to town, you know, take your pick, right? It's just super, super handy. Again, what I had in mind was filling this with the hardware that I'm using on something, and then there's a piece, kind of essentially something that I need flat where I'm going to adhere it. So the weight of the fasteners in this would then work in tandem with me, right? It's more desirable. I will tell you right here, as we come across, let's just call that 13.5. So if we consider that, you'd have a situation, what, 675 is what we'd be working with. So if we could come in here not at 6 3/4, well, that would be helpful. We'll just, for simplicity's sake, call it 13. You'd come in right here at 6.5, split it. That would be great. The 4 compartments would work, but realistically, if I could have a divider here at 4 and then one at, say, like 8, I would be super happy. I almost wish it was molded in and you could buy the plates separately if you wanted them to divide this. As it is, let's say that you're throwing some screws in here and you have like a 1/4-20 and you're doing 3/4 1, 1 1/4. They're all mixed together, right? So again, if you could divide it, now granted, if you keep them in the box and you don't jostle it, you could go that route. But that would be my one thing that would make this super cool. Same thing with cans. So like this is a little almost empty thing of ballast. It's gonna fit just fine. Spray paints, anything like that, tape measures. I mean, it's gonna be handy. It's just I'm not sure now I'll have to be doing what I bought this for as much, because I think that's what we're going to start the new dude on. Like I said, though, you never know. Somebody new, they could flake out, they could hate it, they could quit, they could leave, they could be not dependable, or they could turn out to be fantastic. But it's just a chance you have to take. So, but if I do wind up having to do that, I did want to try and have this there and sort of use it in that manner, and we'll see how it goes. If not, I'll either leave it at work to tote other stuff around with, or I'll bring it back home. And I mean, it looks super cool. It's got the Hazet branding on both sides. We can sticker it up if we want to. I would worry about tons of weight in it, you know, based on the fact I can pull this back. In fact, I just did it. I was curious if I could, and you can. I told you I thought we could pull that back and do that. And, that's not incredibly concerning because it didn't stress the plastic too much here, but it's obviously, again, paint, chemicals, couple cans. You know, you're not going to put every socket you own in here type of a deal. You're not going to lug around like 3/4 hardware loaded to the brim. But for certain tasks, I think this will come in handy. Again, I wish I could have gotten, out of everything we bought, I think this is cool, but I do wish it would have been like tool of the day pricing or something, you know, like maybe 20 to 25-ish. I'd feel like way better with it, but it is what it is. And it does look cool. You don't really see stuff like this. I mean, you almost, you'd have to go through Plano and get like a tackle box type of a deal. But this open carry thing, you know, yes, pros and cons both ways, but I think this is pretty cool. So with that said, it is getting late. It's hot, hot, hot out here. I'm going to run back in and maybe edit a video or something. But yeah, I just needed to get this showcased. Why? Because of this. Let me, you know what? For the people that like the long ones, we're going to drag this out another 2 minutes or something. Give me 1 sec. Alright, so I'm back and I've done 2 things. We've grabbed this. This is my pair that I've been using for quite some time. 78, 71, 125. If we dig around back here, no, they're right here. I'm an idiot. 78, 71, 125. No trickery on my part. How can you tell the difference? This one is way more nimble than that one because it's been used a bunch. So I've got the exact same thing, which is fine by me. I've been really, really happy with this one. Gonna set it down so I don't screw them up. Again, this will be the work pair, if you will. And then the other thing I did is right here. I grabbed my little HPS. Again, this is not the work one. It's at work. This is the home one. And I put the Gedore bit socket on there. If it was stubby, it would be legit. I'm afraid we might literally wind up using this because we have to. So this is going to be the comparison. Again, this is basically, if you're unaware, This is kind of exactly the same. That's why, again, outside of extreme ridiculous circumstances, and if you're like, oh, I wonder if I should get the bit ratchet instead of the quarter drive, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Unless it's something that you use all the time, or you've got the cash to spend, or you want to add it to the collection type of a thing, my advice would always be to get the quarter drive and pick yourself out whatever bit adapters you want. Whether you just want a generic cheap one, you want the most compact one, you want a magnet, locking, whatever. Pair that with your quarter drive to put with your bits. And then if you get in situations, once or twice where, that just doesn't work, then get your bit ratchet or your really good bit ratchet type of a thing. But in this case, what I'm trying to highlight is this is the same ratchet. This one has a quarter drive anvil. This one will hold your bits. So, like I said, the thing I like about the Hazet is it chucks up the bit a little bit more. I thought I had the 3mm in there. What have I done? It's sitting here. Okay. So, just for a quick comparison here, look at this. This is the difference. This is the Gedore bit socket versus a number 2 bit of things. Yeah, this is way more compact. Now, what world was that? I think a grasshopper just flew overhead or something. Landed in a box. He's probably going to regret that because I don't think I'm going to get him out. So I'm going to pull that bit, throw it back in, and now we're going to install. The other thing I will tell you, these do get much, much more friendly, like in terms of the retention of the bit and getting it in as you use them. So there it is. We have our Hazet bit ratchet with the 3mm hex that we desperately need, and then we've got our bit socket. Yeah, it's basically this length here. Again, if we had the German companies, there's a lot of things they could add to their catalogs, in my opinion. Like they don't really do, you don't see like mid-length sockets. I think people would eat that up, especially if they were priced proportionately. If a shallow is 10, a mid-length was 20, and the deep was 30, I think they're going to sell a lot of those $20 mid-lengths. The stubby or half-cut bits, stubby bits in general, you don't really see a lot of that for some reason. It's kind of interesting how that goes, but right here, you can see they match up almost perfectly right there, but then it's just with this being in that position, it eats up the difference. And obviously this is going to be the space-saving option. This, I feel, would be a little bit more robust. You're more likely to snap it off with the leverage you could generate, but the problem I have, I can't cut this down very far, okay? This is not proven to be the best backdrop to showcase this stuff, but I'm wanting to highlight, like, this is not a 3mm hex, okay? It starts here at my fingernail. So I could cut this down, I could try to sand it squarely and just eat up space. Whatever I do to shorten this, I can only go to here, and that's still kind of too long. If I had this portion here, right here, instead of that collar, this would be awesome. But alas, it's not, and all I know to do, with it clocked incorrectly, this might actually fit, but it's going to be stupid tight. I could see it rubbing the body of the ratchet. I know that's going to work wherever I put the bit ratchet. This I can actually get in there. So we've got it covered, and that's good. And then we have this that we can, I guess, start to build a set. I don't know. But, the titanium coated Hazets collectively as a set aren't that bad. If they had them in SAE on that same rail, I think I'd pull the trigger. This, I probably would have brought that in if that was the case, but with this being 3mm, it's kind of a lesser deal for me, so we'll just have to feel it out, see how it goes down. But that's what I'm into, that's why this is here, that's why I'm showcasing this. And the good news is it led us to justify the purchase of the bit ratchet, because as you can see, I don't think in this application, which is really rare and not something I would do often, especially with this size, I don't know that this is going to work at all. Now, if I had just the gland nut on a table, yeah, I could totally do this. But where it's at now, they are not movable objects. Okay, so I know this will work. This HPS coupled with that bit socket, I don't know that it will. Again, I really liked the Napros ones were titanium nitrided as well. The Max were not. I don't think the Snap-ons were. I think the Max set may have been the best bang for the buck. I don't know if there's a proto equivalent to that, but it's something I may look into. I don't think there was, because I distinctly remember looking for that when I brought in the stubby 3/8 sockets. But anyway, this video's drug on long enough. I'm going to end it there. But again, something I do to kind of try to differentiate my channel. It's important, like, you don't just showcase the tool. I need to tell you why it's here. The magnetic nut cup, it's here because they don't suck. I've had really good luck with them. The tote is here, which again, now if the new guy pans out, maybe I won't have to do that, but it was here for that specific application. These came in to pair with the bits that we bought to have the 3mm hex to use with a bit ratchet. That's why it came. This is a fantastic bit holder that's just stupid cheap. While I'm getting bits, it makes sense to complete that scenario. And then here, this is again something that I've used and had really good luck with. Again, only caveat, it doesn't always catch the lead. Sometimes it'll go flying or drop. But 15% off on that. The KCT-Cobra set was a stupid good deal. It was still a really good deal, and we cashed in on that once more. And then the thing that I have that I didn't showcase was just another stupid good buy. And we'll have that for the next tool haul, or one of them coming up type of thing. But that's it. That is all I've got for you. You're gonna... If I could film at work, like, we could have some fun with that forklift, I'll tell you. But I'm dead serious. If any of you are, like, sufficient on that front, or maybe you deal with this stuff, or you work somewhere that has, like, a forklift boneyard, or maybe it's something you do as, like, your side hustle. You go in, and when people say, like, their forklift's a broken pile, and they're just getting a new one, and they're like, come haul this thing away. And you pick it up for like $500, or maybe they blow the engine and that's not worth putting one in, and everything else is fine. Whether you harvest the seats or the sides, whatever. If you've got cat or anything that would interchange, I also think there's probably, again, this is not something I like fantasize about and dream up, but like, you know, I could go out and I could buy a 71 Dart and I could put a late model Hemi in it, right? Even though it was never there. I'm pretty confident looking at forklifts in general, you know, like something would interchange there. Like whether it's like new Toyota or 2000s Toyota or Clark generic equivalents or Heist, I don't know. Something would probably plug and play or barely require any modification, like maybe valve something differently. I don't know. But I'm sure there's somebody that does. I just don't know who it is or where to find this person. So, if you're looking for a field that needs really, really good technicians that actually know what they're doing, consider becoming a forklift repair person, because what is in that box? It might be a Wasp, actually. I'm going to deal with that with some brake clean, and whoa boy. Okay, I'll deal with that right now. So, yes, threat neutralized, I believe. Again, thanks to the Alpha gloves, I didn't have to worry about getting stung in my hand. That was not what I wanted to see crawl out of that box. So, yeah, I got the old blood flowing there. But, bonus content for you, but again, everyone I've dealt with on that front has been very, very nice, and the guy did a great job on the seal. He just managed to make it way worse than it was before he fixed the seal. And no one else has been able to fix it, and it sucks because there's nothing. And again, like when someone tells me something from the 90s is old, I just look at you like you're a nut. You know, like again, you know, I mess with 50s through 70s cars for fun. Okay, that's what I do. And when someone tells me, like, that would be like if someone's like, yeah, I got an old car, and they tell me, like, and I've had this happen recently, and the guy is talking about like his '01 Trans Am, and I'm like, old? That's not old. You know, that was like brand new when I was in high school, you loser. And I think I'm always going to be that way. So at some point, yes, you know, a 90, 92 anything will be old, and an '01. But right now, I don't consider that old, you know. It's older than new, but it's not old, right? I don't know. Maybe some of you agree with me. Maybe some of you are like anything past 2010, which if you look at the cars on the road, they're worthless pieces of trash with soulless econo boxes. And you don't really see anything like past 2010. You know, like you're lucky to see 2000. When's the last time you saw like an old Achieva, huh? You know, when's the last time you saw a Sunfire or a Cavalier? Not sitting in someone's yard, but like something actually driving on the road, you know. Grandma's Buick or Oldsmobile from back in the day. A 94 LeSabre, huh? When's the last time you saw that on the street? Maybe they are old, I don't know. But I just look at it as like they were soulless, lifeless shit boxes. And there's no desire, you know. Like I could come in and someone could give me a top-end Z24, whatever that crud was, Cavalier or Sunfire that's like mint condition with a non-leaking sunroof, 94 LeSabre, you know, what was the GMC Safari, an Astro van, and I don't want to fix it. I don't care. Like, no. I hated them when they were new. I hate them now, and I'm not changing. Do you know why there's not Ford Contours and Tauruses driving? It's because they soulless shit boxes, man. But like I said, my apologies to some of you. I don't know, maybe you had a show, you know, the SHO Taurus. Who knows? But everyone has their different things where some people would look at what I like and be like, a Duster, a Dart, those are junk. That should have been scrapped and saved the environment. There's people like that, but to me, like, that's why I don't really care about how many miles are on your Camry. I don't care if it's like the 5th generation in your family. It's a Camry, and I don't care. I never will. You know, outside of like knowing the person or the family personally, like, well, that's really cool, but I don't know. I don't want to be involved in it. So, yeah, but yeah, when that guy, and the dude that told me that said the 92 was ancient, like, this guy is like, I think he'd retired and came back to work, you know, so he's like a dinosaur. And for him to say something from 1992 is old, it's like, come on, dude, you know, you're full of it. So, yeah, maybe for a forklift, but you got to realize, you know, like, there's people that literally run forklifts. I get it. I've been to the places. It's a warehouse, and they buzz them up and down, a fleet of 4 or 5, 24/7, you know, or like 12 plus hours a day. I get it. The hours rack up. But similarly, just like you could have someone that has the Z24 Cavalier that loves it and has kept the mileage low, you know, it might have like 19,000 miles after all this time, and it's still functional, you know, type of a deal. There's different degrees of that, and our forklift is, for what it is, it's very low hours, so it all kind of adds up. But anyway, that's enough of that. But again, it is important that I think people disclose, like, why this is here. You know, why would you buy this stuff twice? All of this, literally everything in this tray, even this, it's all here. It's repeat offenders minus the tray. Even the Cobra set, repeat offender, right? So if you see something come in more than once, it's either an anomaly, we want to test it, we broke it, or it was really good and I'm getting it again. So that's kind of a badge of honor in my opinion. So everything you see here, outside of I haven't had the bits very long, you know, to know with, but I felt good with the ones I had from the Advent set or whatever it was, I'm happy with it all. So we're going to leave it at that. But again, longer video for the people who like that sort of thing. Again, please let me know your thoughts on the thumbnail stuff. I always find that interesting. Because I could easily show you this. Bubble wrap. German bubble wrap, right? Great stuff. Who knows? So, give me your thoughts on that front. I sincerely appreciate you watching. Hope you learned a little something. Hopefully maybe we've got like a bunch of like, you know, silent majority. You know, there's like forklift technicians and they're like, you just described 9 of my coworkers, you know, and I feel for you. And I know a boneyard in Georgia that's got that, you know. I know that stuff exists. I just don't know where to find it, man. So, but again, you know, it's important that I think the clarity of why this is reappearing and why it's here at all is very important, and it adds to the video. And with that said, LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned a little something, got some laughs out of it. Whatever it may be, feel free to share your thoughts, especially first-hand feedback on any of this stuff. If you got questions, if you're, you know, a forklift master, maybe you've got the same story and your cat has a broken gland nut as well from somebody mangling it with a chisel. Whatever it might be, feel free to share your thoughts. Hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here next week for more action from the shop.